on behalf of the team, I would like to thank you for coming and welcome you here today to our presentation. I would like the team members to come up and introduce themselves before we go any further, ones that are here.
My name is Emily Comstock, and I came along, and actually this was my third trip going.
Oops, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and this is my first trip this time.
Hi, I'm Dirk Foster, and this was my first trip to Zambia.
I'm Bob Quady, and this was my first trip as well.
Kelly Link, my first trip as well.
Our trip was January 16th through the 28th, and we were at the Village of Hope from Saturday to Saturday. It was a blended team, so we had a team of 12, and you see the 6 Zion, actually, team members. Our furthest team members came from Durango, Colorado. My first cousin and her husband went with us. Pastor Susie, who's now at Camp Wapo and is the director, she came with one of her camp counselors, Hazel Beniski. My daughter Maria Squadroni, who now lives in St. Louis Park, she came. And Mary Brown, who's from Aiken, good friends of Julie Swaggart and her husband. She's actually the secretary up at their little church up there in Aiken. She was the 12th person we had. So we had a very blended team. We're going to start with a video that team member Maria Squadroni put together that tells about the trip, and then we'll have some sharing from some of the team members and then questions at the end. So we'll have the video.
And I am a member here at Zion, and I have been a member since 1991. Hello, my name is Emily Comstock, and I am a member here at Zion, and I have been a member since 1991. This January, I had an opportunity to go to Zambia to an orphanage there called the Village of Hope.
The Village of Hope has impacted the lives of literally thousands of individuals in our poor rural area in Zambia. It has evolved from our original children's village, which at the high peak had 109 children in it, to a multifaceted ministry that has the School of Hope with 700 children, the Hope College of Education and Agriculture program with over 100 young people, and we have over 250 interns and employees. 90% of the population out in this rural area are not on payrolls. Only 10% are on payrolls. That means that for every one person that works, we have 8, 9, 10, 11 people in the community who are benefiting by their employment.
You were saying that you grew up in the village and came here when you were how old?
I did when I was 8 years old.
What does the Village of Hope mean to you?
For me, it's family and then hope. You know, so like being a part of the village, I've experienced love on different levels and also interacting with people who become family now. And then also it has opened me up to discover who I really am in Christ. So with gifts and talents and all that.
The Village of Hope is a place of hope. It's a place where children can come who have experienced trauma. The School of Hope has provided wonderful and quality education in a country where education suffers due to lack of funds and lack of experienced teachers. It has touched many, many lives and provided hope and encouragement and a quality education for many Zambian children.
One of the ways that I feel like this trip has impacted me is through the kids at the village. The kids have so much joy, so many smiles. They love the Lord and they love to worship the Lord. And that is one of the things that I would like to do more of coming back, is just choosing joy each day.
Hi, my name is Bob Quade. I'm a member of Zion Lutheran Church in Buffalo, Minnesota. This past January 2025, I had the opportunity of going to Zambia, Village of Hope, with a dozen people from the States. Before we left, they asked us what type of projects we'd like to work on. And I told them by career I was a forester, so I'd enjoy working with trees. So we were tasked with then working in their orchard. And their orchard is made up of lemon trees, orange trees, guava, mango, banana. But when we got there, we realized they had some chainsaws that were in need of repair. So team member Dirk Foster and I spent some time going through these saws, cleaning them up. So we worked with the locals, not only when we were doing the chainsaw work, we showed them how to do some of that maintenance, but also in the orchard itself, when we were shaping and pruning these trees, we were teaching the locals how to do that. Overall, it was a wonderful experience. The best part to me was working with the people. They have smiles, they're joyful, they want to learn. I would encourage anyone who has the opportunity. It's a very enlightening experience, and I'm sure you will enjoy it as much as I did.
I love Zion Lutheran from Buffalo. I feel like it's part of my church. I've been there many times. Many times I listen to it on Sunday. So we're just so glad that the team came and that they're getting to see what God's doing here in Zambia. We hope to see more members of Zion coming in the future.
I had the privilege of going to the school there called All Kids Can Learn. So I was there throughout the week. I was actually in a preschool room with the younger preschoolers, helping the teachers there do different activities with the kids, and also some curriculum planning as well. Right here on the map, this is Zambia right here. When you're done, if you want to look closer, but this is the capital, Lusaka. And then right where this is, it's called Chimbomwe. That's where the Village of Hope is at. So one of the things that we did while we were at the villages, each night there was a total of 12 of us, so we split off into pairs. And we went into houses or cottages that night where the kids stay at the orphanage, and we were there for about an hour. We were there from 7 to 8 each night, and we just played games with the kids, did activities with the kids, kind of did whatever they kind of wanted us to do. I know in my house I was with Mary Braun from Aiken, and her and I, our girls like to play Candyland. We had to bring Candyland every night, and I think we played like 3 or 4 games of Candyland. That was their favorite game. So we played Candyland, and we just played some different games. They played Skippo, but they did not play Skippo how we usually play it. They played it in the garbage way. That's another thing when you go to Zambia. That's another thing you learn when you go to Zambia. They do not play games like we play games here sometimes, so you just go with the flow and play how they play it. That was one of the things that we had learned as well. So, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So I'm Dirk Foster. I also went, Bob and I first started out with working on their chainsaws. They had 4 chainsaws. Only one was working, and that was barely working. And Benedict was very happy to know that we were able to help him with his chainsaws. We had to bring 2 of them in for repairs into Husqvarna. They're beyond our ability. We did get one working, but the problem is they don't have parts. And they had mixed and matched chains and all kinds of things. So when we got back, Bob and I went to M&M Express here and got the parts we needed in one day. But we went into Lusaka on Wednesday with the chainsaws to get them repaired. And it's about 45 miles south of where the village was. But it took us 2 hours to get there. And the roads are dirt. So this is the main road, north and south road through Zambia. Dirt road, sometimes it was paved, averaged maybe 20, 30 miles an hour. It was an all-day trip just to go into Zambia, or into Lusaka. But they have other projects going on. They want to build a clinic, looking at possibly building a clinic. They're clearing acreage to more irrigation. But it was, one of the highlights for me was going into the houses at night with the kids. Bob and I were teamed up together. We went into to the older boys' houses. I think there were 7 of them, and the one boy, he wanted to play chess. And he beat me 3 out of 4 times.
Got spanked pretty hard.
He was pretty good. And some of them spoke English, some of them not so well. And we had one boy in our room, in our house, that was deaf, but all the other kids could speak with him. So, but if you are thinking about coming or doing it, I would highly encourage it. They'll find a place for you, no matter what your skill set is. So.
My name is Bob Quiddy, as you've already seen. We did some orchard work, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a misperception I had going to Zambia. And I thought that surely I'm going to go there for a week and work on a project. I should just send my money there. They could hire a local. He could do probably twice as much as I could do. And having been there and come back, and we were told this right at the beginning, the project work is secondary. It's the relationship building that's primary. And the relationship first that we built was with Kathleen and Benedict. We had the sister with us, which I'm sure helped build those relationships. I think those people are enjoy having people from the States come, can interact, hear what's going on. Then the relationships we built with the kids and all those things that we would not have had a chance. We got a chance to teach, which they can't, they have I would say a lack of middle management. Benedict and Kathleen are there, and they're training people up to do things and take over. But we had a chance to do some instruction. We had a chance to build not only friendships there, but the group that went, the team that went, built inter-church friendships, that we have a common thing we can share. And spoiler alert for those who are going to the second service, but the sermon's on mountaintop experiences with Peter. And if you've read the Chronicles of Narnia, it's a children's series. And in one of the books, it's called The Silver Chair. These 2 kids get transported into Narnia, which is a land where a lion is king. And because of a mishap, one of them falls off a cliff, a huge cliff. You look down the cliff, and you see clouds miles below. That's how far this cliff is up. And it ends up okay, so don't worry, kids. For that guy. But they get separated. And one child's left, and Aslan comes and he's talking to this child. He says, giving her instructions that she has to then take down to tell this other kid. And he says to her, when you're up on the mountain, it is clear, the air is clear, the vision is clear, but when you get back down there, it will be less clear. Zambia to me was like one of these mountaintop things, where things are clear. You become clear, you can see clearly, you can breathe clearly. And this is down below, back into life, back into the things. But like having those mountaintop experiences, we maybe had them as church youth, when you went to camp, or some other time you had those mountaintops. This is that opportunity. So I would encourage anyone who has a chance, it's worth it for you to experience that.
I'm going to do it without the mic. I think everybody can hear me, right? My name's Kelly Link. I got to go over with my wife, which was special. Obviously, getting time away in a very different environment enlivens that experience or that relationship. But also the relationship we built with the team that we went over was very special. The highlight for me that I believe is going to stick with me for probably the rest of my life is, number one, I read the book that Kathleen and Benedict put together, and throughout it talks about their journey, and even before they started it. And first off, it's very difficult to imagine that in 2007, they had been called previously to go over to Zambia and to start this project. There was nothing there barren land. Not barren land, the land actually was forested and whatever. But they started from nothing to today, in 2025, they have 50 buildings. They have a school that teaches 700 students daily from pre-K to 2 years of college. And the two curriculums that they teach in college are agriculture and nursing, which in that country are very needed. They employ somewhere in the neighborhood of 170 or 220 employees throughout the school, throughout their farm, throughout their truck stop. And each one of those employees, they believe, supports up to 10 other people through that individual's family, that individual paying for goods that provide jobs for somebody else or income for somebody else. So to go from nothing to where they're at today is chronicled in this book. And the thing that really stood out to me several times within this book were the coincidences that happened on their journey, where they were seeking or knowing they needed something, and sure enough, in a day, a week, a month, somebody would show up or something would happen that would allow them to achieve that. And that faith that they have was highlighted to me on our final full day there. In addition to going to the kids' cabins each night for an hour, and Melissa and I had a mixed cabin of both boys and girls. It was the only cabin that had that. And I forgot to mention one other thing. The cabins are orphans. Out of their 700 students that come there daily to the school, 60 of them remain on the campus or on the grounds in their cabins. And that's actually a low number. They've been as high as over 100, 110 orphans at any one time. So we would go and spend time each night with them. And that was, of course, a highlight. But it further broadens the scope of what all they get accomplished. So each night before we would go to the cabins, we would join at the main house where Benedict and Kathleen live for dinner together and devotions. But before, one of us would be asked by Kathleen to drive over to the truck stop to get our meal. Now, the truck stop was one of those ventures that came out of a failure but turned into a success. They had seen where bus stops in Zambia were where buses would stop and people would eat and stay overnight or whatever were a huge success for a couple of them. So they wanted to mirror that. And so they built one themselves and it was a failure. And so they went to the other bus stops and said, what are we doing wrong? You're too close to Lusaka. The buses are either coming into Lusaka or going out of Lusaka, and you're too close. You want to get farther away if indeed you want buses to stop. So they turned it into a truck stop. Now imagine driving a semi-truck, just like we know them here. These drivers going into Lusaka are going to hit ugly traffic much part of the day. Or there also is security issues if they were to go into Lusaka and park their vehicle overnight. So indeed, by being about 45 miles out, they get a regular regular traffic of semis stopping late in the day. They've got a place now where they can get a good meal, they can get a shower, they can play pool, and they can head out in the morning when things are less traffic, hopefully, and safer for sure, a place to stay. But anyway, so here, another coincidence, they build a bus stop, it failed, but they come up with a plan. So the truck stop, because of its ability to make meals, was the place where we'd go each night, get the meal, bring it back to the house, and we'd eat as a team. So she always had one of us go with her. And last night, Friday night, I got to go with her. And on the way there, we were chatting a little bit about what all they've accomplished. And at that time, Benedict had shared with us that his next major project is to build a clinic, because they're fearful that the USAID funding that goes away from Zambia is going to create a opening or a lack of medical care that they're used to now. And so his plan is he'll fill that void for their area. And so I asked Kathleen, because it sure seemed like a huge step, huge project. I said, Kathleen, through all these years, has there ever been anything that Benedict has come to you with as an idea, and you had to look him in the eye and say, Benedict, that's just a little bit much. That's not something we can do. And her response, and I'll never forget it, these are not Benedict's ideas. These are given to him by God. And that's what drives them. So if you could measure my faith in a thimble, it would have fit with a good dose of humility along with it. Because it really showed me these people's faith and what they can do when they act on it. Any questions from any friends?
Oh, we should mention, so they have 5 or 6 groups come over from all over the United States, churches just like ours that team up with other churches to go over. The mission committee for Zion here is, we're thinking about going again in the summer of 2026. So not this summer, but maybe next summer. We don't know exact dates because they have to coordinate with the other churches that come over and support them. So there will be opportunities to go over again. Because of COVID, the mission committee tries to alternate going to Jamaica one year and going to Zambia another year. That's the overall goal. And because of COVID, this year we both went the same year. But there's a possibility in the summer of 2026. Things to be determined.
Add on to what was said by Kelly, they are really pursuing the clinic piece, and hopefully soon we'll have some information about it to send out to their teams and supporting churches. They have already seen, I talked to Kathleen and Benedict yesterday, they have already seen some of the clinics around being shut down because there's no funding. So these are all government subsidized clinics that are in the rural areas. So it's a real need for them to build their clinic, and soon. So it's in the works, but they don't know yet exactly how soon or if, but you know, they're going with the idea they do with every project, that it's gonna be a go. That's always their idea, is just, you know, how soon and when it'll start, but they really think that each of these is a God message. Yeah.
Any questions?
Also, another thing that's happening is we're talking about, you know, they're doing these small group things in church. We're thinking of getting a Zambia one, maybe for some that have gone, or some that are interested in going maybe in this next time to be part of that. We haven't put all the details together yet on it, but that's one of the things we're kicking around in church, is having one of those small groups be Zambia focused.
Gary asked about the German Shepherds. They had 4 German Shepherds they got recently, about a year ago or so.
They're still pretty young, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty young. Benedict wanted to get them for security alert, basically. So, I mean, the way he phrased it is, we are an island of resources in a sea of poverty. And so his idea was to get these dogs, mainly just for alerting them when they bark and they hear something going on. They did have a security force there. Every farm, large operation has security, mainly because, again, they're resources. They have a computer lab. I don't know if I actually have a picture of that in here, but it's in 2 Conex boxes because they were afraid people would break in. I think there is some crime against property, people stealing things, those type of things. But the dogs were there to bark and alert if they hear anything, although they were kept in the kennel most of the time. And then they hired the boys to go walk the dogs, and so that was another source of money for kids working at the orphanage there. And I can attest that they do bark. Along with the chicken.
Chickens don't bark. Barking more.
I named the chicken that was in the house next to ours, I named him Chicken Dinner. Yeah, they are pretty much, well, I wouldn't say they're self-sufficient, but they had cows for milking, they had eggs for laying, chickens for laying eggs, they had chickens for eating. The food was pretty good. Again, they have this truck stop, and because we were a group of 12, they would prepare the meals, we would go get it, and then at lunchtime, we would go up there and have a lunch at the truck stop and eat there. But they were good soups.
Good food.
What does it call it? Shushu? They call it
Shima.
Well, shima is the corn
Yeah, the
maize.
shushu is the vegetable.
Yeah, shushu is a vegetable. They grow it on the vine behind the truck stop there, but then they would deep fry it. It was almost like a French fry. It was very good.
Yeah, there was nothing I ate that I didn't like. We got a wide variety of stuff.
Yeah. So Saturday morning, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, what is like the transition for the children as they get older? Like, what's a typical transition out or back?
Well, I don't think one, it's not based on age, I think. There were some kids that were older, but, you know, you'd swear he's probably 12, and they would also be like in 8th grade or something like that, but maybe he was 18 or so. Some of the kids, you saw the one in the video, they worked there. They would transition and they would work there, or maybe they would go to college there if they could go to college.
I think part of the ag college component is there are farms around that hire people to help work on those farms. So the hope, I suppose, is they go through that ag college and then are employable to these farms that are kind of working around there.
Yeah. But,
so that nursing program was like a 2-year nursing,
Yeah.
be like an RN.
I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
well, the other thing too
They would
is,
have to go to.
Kathleen alluded to it, their teaching standards are very minimal. The government schools were not very good, I guess. And so a lot of the local people wanted their kids to come to this school here. And I don't know if they charge it or.
There's a small fee that there's
fee.
a small fee, because the government schools there, like if you go to school, a government school, there would be like, I wanna say like 50 to 60 to 70, I mean more than that, I feel like in a school setting, and they don't have a lot of supplies or resources, whereas at the school at the village, they have supplies, they have resources, they have books, it's a faith-based school, whereas some of the government schools are not. And then if the kids that are not at the village want to go there, they pay a small fee to go there. And the teachers are more well-trained too at the village as well.
Yeah, they do have scholarships too.
Yeah.
Students.
The large operation, farming operations and whatever around the area, the owners of those will have multiple families that they employ individuals within those families. Those owners will pay the School of Hope to have their employees' kids go there for school. And generally, though, that's a significant part of revenue for the schools. But for children that are in need, there are scholarships available.
Steve?
I think that's what I was basically going to say what Kelly just said. There's big farms around the village, big farms. And every owner has to supply the workers with either a stipend for housing, or they have a village right on their farm where their families, the workers' families live. And those are the kids that get sent or come to the village school, a lot of them.
And it's amazing, these kids will walk distances to go to school, so it's amazing. They get up early in the morning and walk to school.
And the the kids and the people are just so joyful. It's amazing for us to compare our situation with theirs, and they're happy, they're joyful, they're grateful, and obviously Benedict and Kathleen's tutelage, they're all strong in their faith.
And I invite you to still stick around and ask questions as we start to kind of close here. I just want to say a thank you for not only your work in going there, but in the essential work of coming down the mountain, then coming and telling the rest of us, in a place that it might feel unclear, and to keep that kind of connection and to keep this conversation going. And so, looking forward to this small group that's forming. I'm looking forward to potentially August 2026, sometime around there, to send another group back out. But I just want to give some space to say thank you all for your work and thank you for telling us about it. So, thank you.